Having agency is defined as the capacity of individuals to act independently and to make their own free choices. Tune in to get an inside look at the inspiring uphill climb of businesswomen from around the world. I'm your host, Cheryl Gillihan, and this is Woman-Owned Agency. Lindsey, so great to have you with me today. If you would, please introduce to our audience yourself and a little bit about Content Journey.
Yeah, thank you. I'm excited about this conversation. It's always fun to chit chat with you, Cheryl. So I own a business called Content Journey. We focus on SEO and content and that journey, if you will. We didn't launch until 2020. So we're still a fairly new company, but we've grown really organically and nicely into a full-time team of 4 now, with 2 part-timers and a writing team of 15, I think, 15 or 17. And really have just brought some great people together to help continue building our clients through organic search mostly. That's our sweet spot.
Well, and for those that don't know, Lindsey and her team actually do a lot of content for Cause Labs. So Content Journey is our content marketing team. And so most of our blog posts actually are researched and written by their team. They've done a great job of really capturing our voice and getting to know who we are and what our stories are and being able to pull that in alongside some important research. And it has grown kind of our organic traffic. So it's been wonderful. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah, that's good. And I like to hear that we have your voice too. That's one of our things that we lay out to accomplish as quickly as we can, is to sound like the people we're writing for, so that people go to a website or they read an email and they don't know that some outside firm is handling that for them. So I'm glad that we're able to accomplish that for you.
Yeah, and you've been able to do it even, changing some of our team members too. So we worked with a few of your content writers, and that's been really wonderful. That transition has been seamless, and it really hasn't changed the voice of our writing. So this interview is really just more about you and a little bit about us, because we've been friends for a long time, and that's been a wonderful journey in and of itself. But I know a little bit about your background, but our audience doesn't. So tell us a little bit about, your journey into becoming a business owner. Do you consider yourself an entrepreneur now? Have you always considered yourself an entrepreneur?
Yeah. So, okay. I have to tell you that the best story that I think puts me in a nutshell a little bit, is my first business was when I was 5. We had family who would come to our home for all of the holidays, so Christmas or Thanksgiving. And I really, really wanted to be an artist. My crayons went with me everywhere I went. And so when we would have family get-togethers, I would spend days, probably not weeks, but days at least, drawing pictures of Christmas trees or turkeys, like where you use your hand as the outline. I wish I still had one of the pictures of that, but spent all of that time drawing all these pictures for my family members. So grandparents, aunts, uncles, all of that. But I wouldn't give them my photos. Or my drawings, I would sell them. So I priced all of my drawings accordingly, and I would go around with my shoebox and would sell my artwork to my family members. So I was not a 5 or a 6-year-old whose grandma just got pictures. She had to pay for them. And so there was always this piece of me, I think, that understood that I could create something for value that other people might appreciate. And so whatever that looked like, it's followed me. So I've had several endeavors, some more successful than others, over the years, and been a part of, a lot of people. I think I've learned so much through osmosis of the entrepreneurial journey, just from being around people like, you and Mike and my spouse, Corey, and different people, the circles that we run around in, surrounded by such smart, amazing people that you can't help but, I think, glean some of that. So yes, entrepreneurial. No, not always considered that I was an entrepreneur, and really have gone through a lot of growth in the last year or so of really stepping into, and you and I've had that conversation of, I'm the boss. What? People want to I'm supposed to do something with that. Like I manage people now. And that's been a harder struggle, I would say, of kind of stepping into my own confidence in that way. So super long answer. But you have to learn about 5-year-old artists, Lindsay, I think, when we talk about entrepreneurship.
Now that's a story I didn't know. That's so much fun. um, yeah, talking about being the boss though, that I remember the day because I worked in the company before I became the CEO of the company, and certainly before I took ownership of the company and bought the company. And so I remember the day that I became the boss. And one day it was like I was their friend and I could talk to them about anything. And the next day it was like this burden of like, I can't tell them all the things I'm dealing with because, as a leader, like how I'm such a transparent person, but how much is okay to share, and recognizing that like, this isn't their burden to bear. This
Yeah.
is mine to figure out. But how can I still be transparent? How can I still authentically be myself? How can I be the type of leader that I want to be, to take care of the team, and recognizing that
Yeah.
like there are some things as a leader and as an owner that, that's our emotional baggage, that's our crap to deal with, that it shouldn't
Hmm.
be on our team. They should be able to sleep at night and not have to worry about that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think it was a conversation with you, I think last year, where I told you that I was really struggling with that. I mean, even my business cards say lead guide. I mean, they don't say CEO, they don't say founder. And I think that really is a testament to where I was whenever we founded Content Journey. Is I didn't see myself as the person on the top. I saw myself as a person, and I still feel it's a collaborative, but there's a difference. But I think it was having a vulnerable moment with you and telling you how I was struggling with that. And you gave me the advice that whether I want them to or not, everyone was looking at me as the leader, as the boss. And once I sort of reframed that a little bit, I went, oh, okay, well, guess it's not my decision. I don't get to say, no, don't see me as that, because that's how they see me. And I think that really helped me start stepping more into the confidence of being the founder and owner of Content Journey.
Yeah, and you've experienced so much growth in such a short time, actually, and during a pandemic. So tell me a little bit more about like that growth
Yeah.
journey for y'all. What is the thing that has really propelled y'all forward?
The long story of it, or I guess maybe the short version of the long story, is in 2020, I was finishing my master's degree in clinical mental health counseling, which is something that I've always wanted to do, is to go into mental health work. But simultaneously, over the last 3 or 4 years, I just had this content idea, a way to package SEO and content up together that made it accessible to people. So, for example, you talk to like Pixel Cut Labs or Rebecca Gill or Lindsay Halsey and all of these amazing people that are in the SEO world. I mean, you're talking about tens of thousands of dollars to get a plan for SEO, not even just the execution on it. And it's worth every penny, obviously. I mean, they're paid that much for a reason. They are the best in the business. But I working on that corporate side of the world. So I was working for a rather large company for a while, doing SEO and content for them as part of our channel marketing efforts. And I just went, there's a way to do this differently. And I couldn't shake it. And so as I'm finishing graduate school, I'm in an internship, I'm working on my comprehensive examinations and all these things. I just have to launch this business and just see if it's a thing. That way I could just get it out of my system and move on with mental health work. I mean, that was really the goal. And so we bought a domain, built a WordPress website, and 2 weeks later had our first 2 clients. And then by the end of the 2020, so from August to December, had almost 10 people on our client roster. And so it just, I don't know. It just was lucky. I don't know what else to say. Like it was just something I needed to get out of my system and see if it would work. And it was a process and a price point, I think both that fit for people. And then as soon as it started working and people started gaining more organic traffic, they told their friends, and here we are. And now we have almost 30 clients.
I mean, you call it luck, but you're a pretty connected person. You're an extrovert like me. And the people that you know are also connected, extroverted people. And so, I mean, does that help potentially like with the referral mechanism there of marketing and organic growth? I mean, which is what you're all
Yeah.
about, right? Is organic growth.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I mean, I would say, even though I'm an extrovert, there's something really difficult about even talking to a friend or someone that you know and being like, oh, yeah, I would love to help you with this. And it's going to cost X amount of dollars. Like, there's just that uncomfortable piece of, it's different when I'm selling artwork, I guess, to grandma, as opposed to, several $1,000s a month for something that is a business builder potentially for that friend, that client, that referral, but also they have a budget that they have to consider and think about. And so I think getting through those conversations is another lesson to learn of just business development and just getting used to hearing no's and being okay with no's. And then, but yeah, of course, like having connections, having friends, and then current clients too. I would say almost almost every single current client has sent someone else our way because they've been happy with the work that we've done. So there is part of that too, of just making sure that we deliver on what we say, which is really important to me personally, is to know that, like, we say we're going to do something and it actually does get done in that way. And I think that's, I don't know, different in the agency world, if you will. Like, I think people are used to getting burned by marketing agencies that come in with really big promises. And what do we say in Texas and Oklahoma? Big hat, no cattle. Right.
Yes. That's
And I
what
think
they
people have
say.
gotten used to that, right? Of just getting these big promises. And we don't make promises. We promise to do our best. We promise to work towards, their goals, but we can't promise results. But we know if we do the things we say we're going to, it'll lead to that.
It's wonderful to have the content there. You do the research, you write the content, and it keeps our content fresh when you're doing that for us. But if we just
Mhm.
let it sit on our website and we don't market it and we don't do anything with it and we don't share it, of course nobody's going to come to it.
Right.
When we're building websites, we like to say, like, if you build it, they will not come. This is not the field of dreams. Like, you have to have a marketing plan, you have to have a rollout plan, you have to, just like any program, you have to
Yeah.
identify, like, how are you going to get traction on this? Where are you going to pilot it? How are you going to learn? Who are you going to test with? Who are your advocates going to be? And
Yeah.
how are you going to get this shared? And for us, it's been wonderful content, but it helps for us to also really enjoy the content ourselves, to be advocates of that. And
Yeah.
so the content that has been, most valuable for us, that actually has seen the most traction, have been the things that are like, oh my gosh, I feel like every nonprofit organization we work with should know this. And so
Yeah.
we share it out a lot more.
Right. Absolutely. And I think it helps too with, like, how I think our teams work together, which is different than some of our other clients, is we do have a whole lot more interaction with each other too, of sharing those ideas, and it gets our team excited to work on that too. So I think that's important. Absolutely, like for your side to be excited about what's being created, but then also as we are the ones writing it, like believing in it too.
Yes. So you don't have any specific niches, do you? Like, you work with all types of clients?
We do. I think that's like the advice you get from everybody is niche down as quickly as you can. For us, I think there are some that we can be more successful with than others. So we come from the WordPress space, right? So Corey Miller definitely wanted me to do this early on, was to focus on plugin companies and create content for them. But you really have to be an expert on that plugin and that product in order to write about it really effectively. Especially when you get into like how to's and step by steps, like we need to know how to use the plugin really, really well to be able to write about it. And so that is a space that I haven't quite figured out yet. We do have some technical writers on our staff, but it takes a lot more time to go in and become incredibly knowledgeable about, gravity forms, for example, to be able to talk about that, as opposed to, we have an e-commerce agency. They just focus on e-commerce. And we can talk about that all the time because we can talk about best practices and different types of platforms and et cetera, as opposed to not getting super technical. And then also our content director is a journalism or former journalism professor. And so we have a lot of journalists that do, or former journalists, I should say, that write for us. And they specialize in collecting the information and condensing it down no matter the topic. And so we've just chosen to lean into their skills and expertise and use them that way, instead of trying to force us into a bucket that maybe we don't belong in, or isn't fun to write about the same thing over and over again. I mean, that's part of it too.
Yeah, I admire companies that are able to like really laser focus on something. At Cause Labs, we haven't really been able to do that either, other than, we work with purpose-driven programs and organizations, but that doesn't mean that's still a very wide net and there's a lot of things there. So it's something that always intrigues me. Like, how does it work when you do niche down, and how does it work when you don't? I'm still trying to figure that out myself. Is this wide net working out well for us, or do we need to kind of narrow in on some of the things where we have a lot of expertise? So I would be interested in just exploring that with you and continuing that conversation.
Yeah.
Your business is still kind of young, and I think you're still figuring that out yourself.
Absolutely. I think we definitely have like an internal list of businesses we like to work with. So credit unions are amazing. We really like working with credit unions. They're like to a specific geographical location. And so we can do a lot of things like with local SEO and with content with them that we maybe can't do with a national organization or national brand. Obviously, mental health facilities are near the top of the list because all of our mental health writers are credentialed, therapists of some kind. And so we can really come at it from an intelligent space. But I'm not sure what we'll do other than that. I mean, when we get a new client where we don't have experience in, we go out and recruit new writers that do. And so, if you do you do Enneagram? I'm sure you do, right?
Of course I do.
Okay, so you're gonna get this like so fast. So I'm a 7 Enneagram, right? And so there's something about this always changing possibilities, new things, different types of clients that just I gravitate towards. And so maybe the team would be like, can we please just do real estate agents in various locations? Because that's good, fun content to do. And I would be like, no, that's boring. We want to keep it varied. So anyway, that's probably part of it too, right? Is that my personality won't let us focus on one thing too long. The other thing we do with clients that I think is different than other marketing agencies, now that I think about the niching down part, is we will not work for competitors. So when I say there's like a credit union, we work with one credit union per market. We won't work with different people that compete against each other. And actually last month had an amazing client conversation. I really liked them, was so looking forward to working with them, and realized that they had one area of their business that was a direct competitor to another one of our clients, had been with us from the beginning. And so I contacted the client and said, hey, just want to verify, is this a competitor of yours? And they said yes. And so I had to turn down the new client, who would have also been wonderful to work with. But I like to win, and I like to win for our clients. And so whenever you compete against yourself, like you're like somewhere you're losing, and somewhere that you're working for is losing. And so we've made it a really strict policy that we've stuck towards, of just, not working with people that are in the same exact space. So that's probably a different thing, part of a niche, right? There's our niche. We won't work for competitors.
So in those instances, do you refer them to other content agencies that you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I mean, we still want them to succeed and find help for their business. But so yeah, we've definitely done that. And we've only had to actually turn away 2 people. But I mean, it's hard to do that
Mhm.
whenever you're growing something. But
Yeah.
mm,
We've had to do that for different reasons, not from the competition side of things, because I feel like nonprofits, I mean, they all compete for the philanthropy dollars. They're all
yeah,
competitors to
absolutely.
each other. But at the same time, I don't see them as competitors to each other. I see them as collaborators for the cause, and I
Yeah.
see them as there are plenty of philanthropy dollars out there, and every single organization that we've worked with has a specific part of their program that serves the
Yeah.
community, and it's a little bit different, and that's why they
Yep.
exist, is because they serve a part of the community that isn't being served by whatever else is already out there, right? Whether that's
Yep.
government or another nonprofit, or a for-profit organization. Like, they have obviously found an area where there's a gap, and
Yep.
that's why their organization exists. And so we have had to turn them down, though, when the budget or the timing or just expertise isn't a fit with our organization. And that's part of the inspiration for this podcast and interviewing other women, is because there are so many women-owned agencies out there, and I want them all to know about each other. And I want to meet more of them, and I want the women that I'm interviewing, like you, to share with me, like, who do you know who should be on this, because we're always looking for other agencies to potentially refer to. So for example, we don't do SEO,
Yeah.
but we know other agencies who do. And so, referring out for those things. We don't do content writing, but we refer out to
Mm,
you and a couple other content
yeah.
writers that we've worked with. And so that's
Yeah.
wonderful to be able to do that and have that kind of abundance mindset of being able to help.
Exactly. I think we said this before too, when we were speaking. It's just like when you put good out in the world, it always comes back. I mean, just doing good things and being good for people and by people. I mean, that's never gonna not work out for anybody,
Yeah.
like everybody in that ecosystem is going to win. Um, the people I thought of immediately, and maybe, I mean, Kimberly Lapari. I think she
Mhm.
has such an interesting story and very similar, I think, to yours as well, where she worked within her agency, became part owner, and then eventually became full owner. And so I think her story of growth is a really interesting one. And then there's somebody here locally to Oklahoma City. Her name is Hannah Schmidt, and Hannah started a female only co-working facility here in OKC called the Treasury. And she has really put herself out there in this way of connecting people and specifically connecting women, helping them grow their business, helping them find camaraderie. So she has one endeavor called the Working Mom Summit. And so it is literally for, moms out there or parents and coming together and understanding what that means. So stopping a podcast interview to make sure someone's picking your kids up from school, like we all have understood that. Um, or even one of her other things that she did is called 100 Magazine. So she used to do something in publishing, I think. And so she created a magazine of 100 women in Oklahoma making a difference. And so she did the photography for it. She put all the things together. She sold the magazine. She shipped them out, and is I can't remember the domain for the website, but it's something around 100 Magazine, where she's highlights 2 of those women every single week for the full year. And it's just so she's doing really cool things too. And so she's not technically an agency owner, but I think it might be an interesting conversation at least, and one that other people could maybe replicate in their own cities and states.
Yeah, sounds great. Absolutely. Well, I'd be excited to meet her. So if you could make that
Yeah,
introduction, I would love it.
I'd be happy to.
So, just to close, and it's, if you don't have any shout outs, that's fine. But are there any shout outs or anything new that you're doing at Content Journey that you would like to share with the audience?
Yeah. Oh gosh. Okay. So a podcast episode that I listened to recently, I bet this is probably everyone in your audience listens to this too, but Brene Brown's Dare to Lead, she did a 2-part one with her sister, the COO, just talking about like team issues and talking to teammates and being vulnerable and like how to do that. And she talks about being on the balcony or on the dance floor and all of that. I'll look it up for your show notes. But that podcast, I have gone back to those 2 episodes alone and re-listened to them no less than 5 times. Even before difficult conversations, I revisited them and been like, how did they word this again? And how do we do that? And it's really helped our team growth and confidence for all of us by following some of those principles that she sets out. And gosh, she's my queen, I think, sometimes. If I could just harness all of her energy and intelligence.
I feel the same. We love Brene.
Right. And then other shout out things, the Enneagram, we were talking about this. We talk about Enneagram all the time on our team. And I think it has really helped me think through our team dynamics in a way. So I, as the 7, another of us we have an 8, a 9, a 7, a 2, who are our full-time people. And we had a 6 before she left us to go spend more time with her family. And so we have like the 7 which is me, of always being like, aren't we having fun in this meeting? Like, is everyone having a good time? And then we had our 6, and she was like, everything is a disaster. The business is like, all of our systems are broken. And then, we have our 9, who's just like sunshine and rainbows coming in, and like, and all of these different dynamics. And talking about it openly with the team as we've all learned more has been, I don't know, it's propelled us exponentially with our working relationships, because we understand where the other ones are coming from. And we even have a Slack channel that we call the Gram for the Enneagram, so we can discuss all of that openly. And that's been a really, really good thing for us. So anyway, there's a couple of books that I can recommend, like Enneagram Empowerment. I'm looking at them right now. And the Enneagram and You, both of those are really, really good.
There's an Enneagram
resources.
podcast that I listen to.
And
yeah, but I'll have to share that in the show notes too, and share that with you as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another good test that has been good for me personally, not necessarily for our team, was the Kolbe score. In doing that one, I realized like not only like the Enneagram has been great for me to sort of recognize the way that I naturally respond to everything, and why I do that. But the Kolbe score kind of honed in on some of my natural habits. One of them being that I'm a quick start, and the minute there's a problem, I'm like on top of it. I'm like, let's go. And Michael is a completely different personality from me. And he's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. We need a process. We need a plan. We need to figure out how we're going to do this. I'm like, no, we'll figure it out along the way. Let's fly the plane and build it while we're flying.
Yes, that's awesome. So I'm also a quick start, and I have like very low follow through. So it's like, oh yeah, here's all of these great ideas and like cool things. And then it's like, I have to have somebody else, which is Emily on my team now, who's like, okay, Lindsay, just give me all of your ideas. And then like, she goes and like puts them together. But if it was just left up to me,
makes them make sense.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay. I can't wait to hear that podcast. That'll be a good one. But Corey is a certified Kolbe person. And we actually have a great relationship with Kathy Kolbe. She's a fantastic person. And so we've used that extensively as well. And it is interesting how they all really say the same thing. Even StrengthsFinder, like throw StrengthsFinder in there as well. But presenting it in a different way where, and some probably make more sense to others, right? So like maybe you're more drawn towards StrengthsFinder than you are Kolbe, but how they all can interact and really help propel team and relationship dynamics too. I mean, it's helped our marital relationship, even knowing some of these things about each other. Have you found that with you and Mike too? Even the Kolbe stuff?
we're in the business together. So we co-own the business. And now that we know some of these things, he has actually prefaced problems of like, I don't need you to do anything with this. I'm just ideating right now. I'm just talking out loud. Don't do anything.
Yeah, I feel that deep in my bones. That's good. Yeah,
So
I like that. I like that a lot.
Well, this has been wonderful. Thank you for sharing so much about Content Journey. And I hope that the other women listening can maybe gain some insights from this, but also contact you because you've been a big help to Cause Labs. And I know that you can help other organizations too.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. Hopefully, yeah, anyone can reach out and ask me. And we also have a white label agency program. So if there's somebody that wants to have their own recurring revenue for SEO and content, we work with several agencies in that capacity. So that's always an opportunity to work together as well.
Wonderful. Thanks, Lindsey.
Thanks, Cheryl.